Hi everybody, Jim Benson here with the second PK Power Up. And I just want to say that if anybody ever tells you that a personal Kanban is either just for your personal work or is just ready, doing, and done, they don't get it. So the whole point of personal Kanban is to allow you to see your actual work, to limit your work in progress, to understand how your work flows, how you personally work, and how your team works, and how your organization works. And of course, how to learn. So the second power up is 4 quick ways to visualize the work that you've already completed and learn from it. Okay? So the first is just what triggers learning at all. And here we have the board that I'm calling the immediate attention board. So, we're sitting here and we're working away and we finish, and let's say we finish this task, this ridiculously named task, and 3 things are going to be true. One is it's done and it's just kind of done, right? So there you go. The second is it's done and we might need to talk about it later. And the third is it's done and oh my God, this is really bad and we need to talk about it now. Right? There's a variety of reasons of why we want to do these things, but the first is that we always want to improve our work so that things that are bad, things that suck, frankly, don't happen again. We want them not to happen again because things that are bad are bad. Okay, so the first stage here is a retrospective. So we get together at regular intervals and we kind of talk about general ways to improve. Now, if you're lucky, your team already does this, but just having a retrospective isn't enough. And unfortunately, most teams don't even do that. So the first thing is to understand that as we get farther away from an event, so whatever this ticket was, farther away that we get from immediate feedback from stakes, the farther we get from finishing that, the less we remember about how it actually went. So if we are going to do a periodic retrospective every 2 weeks or every month or every 2 months or whenever we hire a consultant to come in and force us to do it, it would help if we actually remembered why it was upsetting to us. So that means that we should employ this crazy thing called notes. Okay, so when you move something into the retrospective column, make sure that you provide some detail about what happened so that you know the stuff and things that actually went down, so that when you get into the retro, you actually know what you're talking about, because you won't remember. And you won't remember because of something called rosy retrospection. Rosy retrospection is an honest-to-God cognitive bias that says the farther away that we get from an event, the better our memories are of it. I don't mean better by clearer, I mean better like more forgiving. And that's enough about this, because this is just a power-up, right? So the last part here, and probably the most important, is let's say I'm doing this work and it's gone really badly. It becomes an expedite. Everyone, all hands on deck, totally urgent. We are done. We're finished with it. When you're done with that task, you need to fix it then, like that day. Even though everybody's tired, maybe you can go home and go to bed and come back the next day, but you need to fix it immediately so that that level of awful doesn't happen again. Don't wait for the retro. Don't wait for that part, because it's not going to help. You're going to be too far away from it. Your memory isn't going to be clear. And by the time you get there, you're just like, geez, I don't even want to think about that again. So while the fire's still hot, get in, talk about it. Okay. So these things will provide you with 3 different feedback loops. One is I remember what I did. The second is we're going to get together and talk about things that don't go quite right. And the third is we're going to fix something that really just blew up in our faces. All right, so that's number 1. Okay, so the second are bucket lists. In bucket lists, what we want to do is we want to remember what happened in the context of given projects, different reportable items. So a lot of us have to account for the hours that we spent on something, or who we worked with, or what resources we used. We have to report that out to a client, to another part of the company, to somebody. So here, when we finished just kind of general work, we move that into done. But other things might want to be project A or project B. Project A and project B have different reporting requirements. So again, we're using our second sticky here to say, all right, I did this one and it took me 2 hours. I did this one and it took me 3 hours. I can now report back my time. I have a written record of what I did. I didn't have to open any accounting software to do it. It just took me a few seconds to write down the Post-it note, right? Okay. Now, part B, or project B, this one, they want to know, what other resources or what other team members you were talking to. So here I worked with Baker and Peters. Here I worked with Cho and Csikszentmihalyi, and here we worked with Malcolm X and Snoop Dogg. And so we remember now who we worked with, and again we can report back. Pretty easy, but again, this is part of how you can visualize your work in a way that will actually help you, get your future work done as opposed to the current work. Now, professional satisfaction. We like to do some things. We don't care about some things. We don't like to do some things, and we really hate other things. And it's actually helpful for us to remember that. It's also helpful for us to remember professional satisfaction in general. So maybe I love doing task W. Task W is great. I love it. But in this case, I didn't have access to the people that I needed to get the work done. I didn't have access to the right computer systems. And as we were trying to complete it, the data that we were given initially was wrong, and this totally was a pain in the butt. So I'm going to put that down there so that I know that these are things that make me personally frustrated, angry, and diminish my professional and my job satisfaction. Because when that happens, I become human. I already am human, but I become even more human in that frustration then becomes yet more whip. It becomes something else that I'm thinking of, and that adds to my existential overhead. It adds to this to how much I'm mulling over things. And that means that I do a poorer job on future tasks. Okay? So understanding when these things start to appear, that they're also conversations that you need to have right away. Okay. So the fourth is collaborative weight. And in collaborative weight, we are going to be honest with ourselves and with others about how much we actually need other people. We go to work to be in the company of others. That's why we're in companies. That's where the word comes from. We don't do anything alone. We do things working together. However, most people that I talk to, or that Tony Ann and I work with, they treat other people as like interruptions or nuisances. It's like, oh, you're talking to me again, you pesky human being, you. But what those people are is they're other parts of the company, and they are using you because it is reasonable to do so as part of the processing of that work. You have something of value, access to something, knowledge, expertise, whatever it is. And so what we tend to think is of all of our work here as just me. It's just me doing this. But in reality, that's crap. We work a lot and almost always with other people. And when we really start to think about it, we end up with our work looking much more like this than we would ever care to admit. We rarely do tasks where it's just us, right? So when we look at work in a collaborative manner, in the future, when we plan our work, we say, okay, you know what? I always thought that I just did these things, but it turns out that I actually rely pretty heavily on the rest of my team, for either little parts of it or not so little parts of it. So when I'm planning my work in the future, I should make sure that Bobby and Sue are available to work on task 23, Larry is ready to work on task 104, because I'm going to pull that task and then I'm going to be the interruption when I go talk to them, right? So 4 quick ways to visualize your work after you've done it so that you can learn and work better in the future. Again, Modus Institute goes into much greater detail. Grab the subscription, join the community. We'll see you there. Bye.